on the gate.
The gate swings into the stretch, and here they come. They're up and pacing.
They're up and trotting.
And they're really rolling along here.
Sprinted past everyone to take the lead.
Going a huge strip.
Those two are stride for stride.
They're halfway home, desperately looking for racing room.
They turn for home.
He may be up to it, but one more push coming on the outside.
Less than an eighth of a mile to go. Absolute amazing mile.
What a champion effort.
A new track record.
With a gutsy performance to win it.
Now, I know nothing about harness racing, but if I did go, my first concern would be the care of the horse and then see if they were well taken care of. And in that case, that would lead me to maybe show more interest and go to harness racing.
Seeing a documentary of the harness racing would make me go to the track more often.
According to my son, they're chariot races.
If harness racing was on television and advertised more, I think you'd get a lot more people coming.
If I were to see a documentary on harness racing, I would watch it solely for the educational purpose because there might be something from it that I could learn that I could apply into the care and management of my own horses.
Well, the few that I've come in contact were retired harness horses, ones that had great race records. They just got too old to do their job. They make wonderful pets, wonderful riding horses afterwards. It's a good sport. It's a very healthy sport, and the horses are bred to do this sport.
Hi, I'm Carly Kimball. I'm 7 years old, and I love harness racing horses. And this is my famous harness racing horse, Princess Gray. Isn't she beautiful? What happens to these harness racing horses behind the scenes? Where did they come from? What is a Standardbred?
Horses have been part of my life ever since I was 7, when I proudly announced to my parents that I love horses. My name is Monica Thors. I'm the producer of this film. I have a long history of being a participant in harness racing on many different levels. Film, photography, marketing, training of harness racing horses, driving in harness racing races, driving in amateur races, driving in women's races.
Shoes has got them going. Wooden shoes and Monica Thorne.
Driving in professional races, owning of harness racing horses, breeding of harness racing horses, and I have even participated in some standardbred riding events. Thank you for watching. I am a harness racing horse.
Here at the Standardbred Slapshot Stable, where we filmed most of our footage, we will show you how we preserve and care for the animal whose forefathers helped build the foundation of modern society, the Standardbred harness racing horse. The history and the power of the horse and cart and its influence on global civilization are preserved daily in the breeding, training, and racing of the Standardbred harness racing horse. As the morning rises, I feel the wind in my face. I hear the breath of my horse, the sound of her feet. I connect to the strength of the horse, the balance of her gait, the movement of her body, the will to race. We may recognize the scenes of horses racing around the track with a driver behind them, but to the new spectator, the horses are noble creatures that are surrounded by a mysterious life. Thus, to many, the horse in the sport of harness racing remains strange to a forgotten past that most people don't even know how to explore or even what questions to ask. Here we are going to ask the questions and give you the answers that will take you on a journey through the history, the nature, the life, the caretakers, and the sport that surround this magnificent animal, the harness racing horse known as the Standardbred. The Standardbred harness racing horses go to work every day. They are professional athletes. While they no longer are required to pull plows or carriages full of people as they did in the 1800s, their 21st century jobs have evolved into racing. Just like people have goals, the Standardbred harness racing horse has a goal, and that is to become a successful professional athlete, a racehorse. To become a successful professional athlete, they must train almost every day. Therefore, they must live at harness racing training centers. Harness racing training centers are many here in New Jersey. Some have been here for many years, preserving the art form and the sport of harness racing. At the training center, like any athlete, the Standardbred harness racing horse prepares for racing with a well-planned training regimen. Its coach, or in this case, its trainer, works to physically and mentally prepare the horse for racing.
The trainer can put a horse through a wide variety of cross-training activities, such as heavy sand,
swimming, jogging, intervals, straight track training, group training, walking, pressure car training, round track training, heart rate monitor,
Some trainers may decide on using an alternative form of training called groundwork. This is where a horse has to coordinate its brain with where to put its feet, very similar to when football players have to run through the tires. You'll see that the horse is trying to step over the railroad tie.
The harness racing horse, known as the Standardbred, is a breed best known for its ability to race in harness at either the trot or the pace. Thus, they can be referred to as either the trotter or the pacer, depending upon their gait. Nonetheless, trotters and pacers are both Standardbreds, solid, well-built horses with a good disposition. Today, the primary purpose of a harness horse is to race. However, many are used under saddle for a variety of equestrian activities, both during their racing career and long after they've retired. Hi, I'm John Mayo, and we're at the Harness Racing Museum and Hall of Fame in Goshen, New York, and we're here to tell you how Standardbred horses became harness racing horses. In the 17th century, the first organized trotting races were held in America. These races were usually held in hay fields, large pastures, or open countryside, with horses racing under saddle with riders on their backs. It wasn't until the mid-18th century that trotting races were held on official race courses like Long Island's Union Racecourse with horses racing in harness. In 1879, the Standardbred stud book was founded in the United States by the National Association of Trotting Horse Breeders. This is when the name Standardbred first came into being, because for any horse to be considered to be registered into the Standardbred stud book, they had to be able to trot 1 mile within the standard time of 2 minutes and 30 seconds. The most noted forefather of Standardbreds was the thoroughbred stallion Messenger, who was bred by John Pratt. Messenger never trotted, but raced in thoroughbred races up to 2.5 miles. Of the 16 races he entered in England, he won 10 of them. He was imported into Pennsylvania in the newly formed United States by Sir Thomas Benger in 1788. In 1793, he was then sold to Henry Astor. During Messenger's stud career, he produced successful thoroughbred racing horses and successful harness racing horses. Messenger's descendant, Abdallah, sired the legendary Hambletonian 10, who was born in 1849. Hambletonian made his first public appearance at the age of 6 months at the nearby Orange County Fair in Goshen, New York, where he caused quite a sensation even though he was not old enough to race yet. A few years later, an up-and-coming competitor for local stallion honors appeared with the son of Abdallah named Abdallah Chief, owned by Seeley C. Rowe. Expressing nothing but contempt for Hambletonian, Rowe insisted Hambletonian would never be a trotter, only a show horse. In 1852, at Long Island's Union Course, there was a match race between Hambletonian and Abdallah Chief to settle the issue. Though it was frowned upon to race colts at such a young age, their competitive owners hooked them to skeleton wagons such as this and drove themselves. 3 minutes and 3 seconds later, Hambletonian crossed the line ahead of his rival. Abdallah Chief's owner, Rowe, was still dissatisfied and unconvinced, so he insisted on a time trial between the two colts. Rowe's prize colt, Abdallah Chief, went the mile in 2 minutes and 55.5 seconds. Hambletonian, in what would be the only time trial of his career, went the mile in 2 minutes and 48.5 seconds. This single 1852 time trial established Hambletonian as the fastest trotting colt of his day. Hambletonian, with his proven speed at such a young age, accelerated the success of his breeding career, which had started a year earlier. After his time trial in 1852, breeders with their best mares flocked to the young stallion. Hambletonian's 25-year stud career would build a small fortune for his owner, William Rysdick. In his lifetime, Hambletonian produced 1,336 foals, making him the most prolific sire of Standardbreds, with almost every trotter and pacer able to trace their lineage back to Hambletonian. Hambletonian's owner, Rysdick, died in 1870 and was buried in Chester, New York. Hambletonian died in 1876 at the age of 27. Hambletonian was then also buried in Chester, New York on what is now known as Hambletonian Avenue. The Hambletonian Stake Race, the most prestigious harness race for trotters in North America, is named in honor of Hambletonian.
I really like the story of Hambletonian, but where can I find out more?
The history of Hambletonian, the great progenitor of America's famed trotters and pacers, can be relived today by taking a journey down the Hambletonian Trail. The Hambletonian Stake was named in honor of the great progenitor. The first Hambletonian was run in 1926 and alternated between Syracuse, New York, and Lexington, Kentucky. Between 1930 and 1956, the race was hosted here in Goshen, New York, at the mile-long track called Good Time Park. The first Hambletonian at Good Time Park was won by filly Hanover's Bertha, and the last, in 1956, by a colt named the Intruder. Good Times Park's grounds are now open fields and wetlands, but the track's triangular shape is still visible from the air.
Classic, the Hambletonian, and there they go. Swift as the wind, they pass the stands carrying the mingled hopes of farm and city fans who have come for miles to see this blue ribbon event. As they round the turn for the backstretch, the leaders are well bunched, but Lord Jim, one of the favorites, is setting a terrific pace. The crowd is on its toes as they hit the far turn pace. Lord Jim leaps ahead for the $26,000 stake. 1934's King of the Trotters. King of the Trotters.
Rosalind lives up to her reputation as the fastest young trotter of the year, and there she is dashing away from her rivals. And the big crowd is thrilled as they come into the home stretch, and Rosalind gamely stands off all challengers. Her driver extends her to the limit, anxious to be the first man to drive 2 Hambletonian winners. And he is, for Rosalind wins, the fastest Hambletonian ever trotted.
Over the line, a winner!
Excitement's growing in the stand. That's the heroes of the Hambletonian, seeking record, fortune, fame.
The greatest 3-year-olds of all time. They're coming into the top of the lane. And watch the drivers, watch the horses. One of the greatest finishes of any Hambletonian. They're giving it all they've got, head and head, neck and neck.